Hey guys, I'm Darren Miles with Darren Miles Photography based here in beautiful, sunny Southwest Florida. Now it's been a long time since I've done one of these videos. This is a 50-50 tips and trick video, and the whole premise behind that video is that 50% of the people probably already know this, but 50% of the people don't. And obviously I'm targeting the 50% of the people that don't. Usually they're beginners or they're trying out something new on their camera and they weren't aware that this feature even existed. Now for the longest time, I've been utilizing Nikon cameras to do my nighttime blue hour real estate photography, long exposures, and historically I've been capped at 30 seconds unless I use the time function, which I explained in another video. But recently, Nikon snuck in a new feature in a firmware update, and I must have missed it because I never knew this feature was available, and now somebody's going to tell me it's been available the entire time. If it was, I never knew, but I don't recall it being there. I just noticed recently it just kind of showed up, and I was like, whoa. So if you want to learn how to capture really cool long exposures on your Nikon Z6 Mark II, stick around, and I'm going to show you how we do that. Hey folks, I'm Darren Miles with Darren Miles Photography, and I'm based here in beautiful, sunny Southwest Florida. And I know it's been a minute since I've done a video, but I stumbled across something and I thought I would share that with you. I used to do this series called 50-50 Tips and Tricks, and essentially what that meant is I had a camera or a lens or a piece of gear, and there was something unique about it that a lot of people knew, but a lot of people didn't know. And recently, let me take a step back. If you've been following my channel for a while, you know that I do a lot of real estate photography, and a lot of that real estate photography is nighttime, blue hour, beautiful, these homes down here in Southwest Florida with some really great nighttime photography, but that entails a long exposure. And one of the biggest handicaps with Nikon cameras, frankly with a lot of cameras, is the lack of super long exposures that you can take in the built-in settings. For example, I primarily used a Nikon Z5, but I have a couple of Z6 Mark IIs, and I don't really pay a whole lot of attention these days to when Nikon does a firmware update. For whatever reason, I just update the firmware, and sometimes I just don't have time to even pay attention to see what's different. I just assume it's a lot of bug fixes. Rarely do I expect there to be new features. But anyway, as I'm going along here, I do a lot of long exposure photography in my real estate work, and if you are interested in learning real estate photography, be sure to check out, go to darrenmiles.com and check out the education page, because there's a real estate photography course on how to get into the real estate photography business. It can be very lucrative, but I'm kind of getting beside the point. But one of the great things about real estate photography is the opportunity to take these long exposures of these homes. Anyway, back to my point. Previous iterations of Nikon cameras, and be it DSLRs or mirrorless cameras like these, is that they were capped at a 30-second exposure. Now you could do bulb if you had a remote control, or if you wanted to stand there and hold the shutter button. Many of the Nikon bodies also had this thing called time. If you rolled the shutter speed back far enough, one of the options became time, and you would press the shutter and it would stay open for as long as you wanted to. But you really never knew exactly how long the shutter was open. It could be 30 seconds, it could be a minute, it could be 5 minutes. Maybe you really wanted a 5-minute exposure, so you'd set like a stopwatch and you'd press the shutter, but it was never exact. Well, I am so pleased that Nikon kind of slipped in the most recent firmware update, at least as far as I'm aware, with the Z6 Mark II, that you can now go beyond 30 seconds built in. In fact, you can go up to 900 seconds exposure on a Nikon Z6 Mark II. Now, I'm assuming it's the same on the Z9 and the Z7. However, this is not the same on the Z5. The Z5 is still capped at 30 seconds. It's one of those things that differentiates the Z5 from the Z6 Mark II. So let me show you what that looks like. If you have a Nikon Z6 Mark II, and again, I'm assuming the Z7 Mark II has this as well. I really don't know that it does. I'm assuming it does, because I don't have one. But if I go to my information page here, on my display on the back, you can see that I'm in manual, and if I roll my shutter back, historically, it would stop at 30 seconds. And after 30 seconds, it would have this X250 option, and then it would have bulb, and then it would have time, but that was it. But now with the Z6 Mark II, I can keep going. 60 seconds, 90 seconds, 120 seconds, 180, 240, 300, 480, 600, 720, 900. You can go up to 900 seconds now. This is amazing if you like to do long exposures, be it dark environments, star trails. There's a variety of things you can do with a 900-second long exposure. That's now built in. Bulb and time are still there. Fantastic. So in addition to being able to go up to 900 seconds, we still have X1200, we still have time, and we still have bulb. So in the rare event that you need to go beyond 900 seconds with a Z6 Mark II or a Z7 Mark II or a Z9, now you can. But 900 seconds, I don't think I've ever gone that long. Maybe you have. I've never had a need to go beyond 900 seconds. In fact, I was always capped at 30, so occasionally I would use time or the time function to get something longer, maybe up to 60. But I actually was out last night and I did a 300-second exposure, and it was awesome. So I'm very pleased that Nikon has this. Again, you may already be aware of this. I wasn't, so that's my 50-50 tip and trick. If you are a Nikon Z6 Mark II user, this is a fantastic option, or if you're considering getting a Nikon Z6 Mark II, just know that it does have that long exposure option. Now, I'm sure many of you are going to comment about all the other cameras that have long exposures. I'm sure they're out there. In fact, I know they're out there, Fuji, for example, and I know that Leica has the ability to go up to like 4 or even 8 minutes. Don't hold me to that. I think it's 4 minutes on the M10, for example. Anyway, I'm Darren Miles with Darren Miles Photography, based here in beautiful, sunny Southwest Florida, and that is today's 50-50 tip and trick, how to get really, really long exposures on your Nikon Z6 Mark II. Thank you so much for watching, and until the next time, happy shooting. Or rather, happy long exposure.